Hey everyone, this is a review of Milwaukee's new M12 Fuel Gen 2 half-inch hammer drill. It's model number 2504. Milwaukee sent this over for me to take a look at. I'm going to be comparing it to their Gen 1 fuel drill as well, showing you the differences between these two, and then finally what this thing's capable of. Alright, so here's the Gen 1 and the Gen 2 drills side by side. They're both the hammer drill models. You can see the biggest change, Milwaukee has knocked a ton of length off these two drills. So if you fully retract the chuck, the length on this new one is 6 9/16 inches long, which is a total of 1 3/16 of an inch shorter than the Gen 1 drill. And they have the same torque specs, the same max RPM, everything in the Gen 2. So they've just slimmed the whole thing down a whole bunch without losing any power. In addition to length savings over the Gen 1 from the Gen 2, you also get a weight savings. They shaved 2 3/4 ounces off of this one. So now, bare tool, it's going to be 2 pounds and 5.5 ounces. The other big change Milwaukee made to this drill is the way you select your clutch settings and the way you select your mode settings. So on the Gen 1 over here, you had a separate collar that let you pick drilling, screwdriving, or hammer drill, and then it let you pick your clutch settings if you were in screwdriving mode. This collar didn't matter what setting it was on if you were in hammer drill or drilling mode. With the Gen 2, they moved to an electronic clutch instead of a mechanical clutch. So that means this drill is all on the same collar for selection mode. So hammer drill and drilling is on the same one, and then if you want a clutch setting, you have to turn this setting further off of that. So if you're going back and forth between clutch setting 1 all the way up to drilling or hammer drill mode, you're going to have a lot more adjusting you have to do to this drill, so that adds a little bit more time to your workflow. If you're using an impact driver for most of your screwdriving needs, the clutch settings aren't as important for this, and it might not bother you that much. But that's just something to keep in mind if you're using the Gen 1 drill or if you're looking between the two of these. If you go back and forth between clutch modes a lot and actual drilling modes a lot, the Gen 1 might speed up your work a little bit over the Gen 2. Now there are a few changes in here that aren't as obvious as the overall length. And one of those is the grip. Just like the Gen 1 to the Gen 2 in the impact drivers, they've taken the grip and made it 1/10 of an inch wider for the Gen 2 than it was on the Gen 1. I actually prefer the grip feeling on Gen 1. The Gen 2 looks a little bit wider and bulkier than the Gen 1 does, but however, if you take the max dimension, which is right here at these bumper pads, and right here at the bumper pads for the Gen 2, they're the same width. So they didn't really beef up the body. It looks like they did, but the overall max width is the same. Other minor things they changed, it's the location of the belt clip, just like they did from the impact drivers. They moved it lower so it's closer to the center of gravity of the tool. So when you hang it from your belt clip, it doesn't tilt one way or the other. It hangs pretty evenly. One really interesting thing about the electronic clutch on this is, I noticed this and I don't think it's documented anywhere, when you're in a low clutch setting where you really want fine work, the ramp up speed for the trigger is very different. So when you pull this trigger when you're in drill mode, and you don't use the variable speed aspect of it, it goes to full speed immediately. But when you're in a low clutch setting like this, listen to what happens. I'm going to mash it full all the way down. All right, now let's go to... You hear that difference? Let's put it in low and listen to it again. Takes it a while to get up to full speed. Higher torque setting. Much faster. So, and then let's go ahead and look at drill mode. Full speed immediately. So, what Milwaukee did with this, you can't do this with a mechanical clutch because the trigger is not really, the speed is not really coupled with the mechanical clutch because the clutch is torque and the trigger is speed. But what they did, since this is an electronic clutch and electronic drive control, is when you're in a low setting that has low torque, you want to have greater control of your speed, and you don't want to start out full bore turning your fastener. So what they did is they gave you a longer ramp up time to allow you more control with just delicate fasteners that you're working with. And I think that's a great feature they incorporated that you can't do with a mechanical clutch. Okay, so I've got a 1/4 inch masonry bit. I'm going to be drilling through standard concrete block. and this is about, the biggest I'd really plan on drilling with a 12-volt drill. Anything bigger, an 18-volt or an SDS is more well suited. So let's see how it does. 4-inch block, 1/4-inch bit. All right, now to be completely unfair to this drill, it's got a 1/2-inch chuck. This is a 5/8 masonry bit with a 1/2-inch shank. This is an unrealistic situation for this drill. I just want to see how it does. Doesn't seem to be making progress very fast, but it's probably, a good 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch down without too much work. I'm really surprised it can keep turning this bit in concrete. That's a 5/8 bit, completely unrealistic situation. It just goes to show this thing has a ton of power. So one thing I recently tried using my Gen 1 drill for that I was just unsatisfied with the performance was drilling a 35mm hinge cup using the 12-volt drill. Starting out in number 2, high speed, low torque. The Gen 2 did not stall on me in high speed, low torque. Or high speed, low torque, yeah. It got all the way to the 1/2-inch depth that this hole was supposed to be at. So I don't know if they fixed some motor protection issues or what, but the Gen 1 was stalling out on me all the time with this. All right, a slightly better angle. Remember, I'm using a compact battery, which you're not going to get the most torque out of. If you really want a ton of torque, you can use the 4-amp-hour battery and get you, or 4 or 6-amp-hour battery and get you a little bit more torque out of it. But I'm in the lower torque, higher speed application for this, using a 35mm bit. This is in softwood, but still. That did it no problem. I was having stall out issues with the Gen 1 doing this just a couple weeks ago. 2.5-inch hole saw bit going through softwood. You'll be really impressed if this can do it. I'm on speed 1, which is high torque. Ooh. Okay, I finally stalled it there. I'm gonna pop out this 2-amp-hour battery pack and put a 4-amp-hour in it. There we go. 2.5-inch hole saw through pine with a 12-volt drill. And this thing has quite a bit of kickback if you catch it. I almost needed an auxiliary handle on this. So really the trade-offs with the Gen 1, when it really comes down to it, this is slightly more powerful even though the specs are the same. It's a lot shorter, and the only downside that I can see for a lot of people wanting and missing is that mode selection collar is no longer clutch settings and then a separate one for hammer drill, screws, and regular drilling. It's all in the same one, so if you're going from clutch setting of 1 all the way to drilling, you've got to do a lot more adjusting. Okay, so for capabilities of this thing, I'm super impressed. I've been using it around the house, just on random projects, mostly drilling pilot holes for screws, occasionally driving some screws or drilling some bigger holes. But you can see, I was doing my testing, got a 2.5-inch hole out of 12-volt drill, without it really bogging down that much or stalling. It has the same torque specs of the Gen 1, but the Gen 1 doesn't seem to have the same amount of power that the Gen 2 tool does. So I don't know if they changed the overload limits or what. This got a little bit warm when I was doing the 2.5-inch holes, but I didn't feel it really overheating. Nothing I was really concerned about. I'm just really impressed with the power they've crammed into this form factor. Alright, so let's talk price point. Milwaukee is releasing this Gen 2 drill at the same price point they released the Gen 1 drill a few years back. So this is $180 with a kit, or $130 bare tool. If you get the regular drill without the hammer mode on it, it's $10 less. The kit comes with a 2 amp hour battery and a 4 amp hour battery. And the best value, if you get the Gen 2 impact driver with it, you've got $230 for the kit with 2 tools, 2 batteries, charger, and a bag. Milwaukee's pricing these at a great price point for the capabilities of these tools. So hopefully this review is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below. And once again, don't forget to subscribe.